Okay, this step is the fun step because you get to be snarky. Most people who teach this technique call this the denial step. I call it the refusal step. Not because of any, linguistic pettifogging, but because the word denial in our culture has come to mean something quite different than what it meant back in the earliest 20th century when these terms were originally coined. Our 12-step programs do a wonderful job of helping people get control of an addiction so that they can get back to a normal life. And to them, denial is the boogeyman. Denial is Satan in that environment. You've heard it said the first step is admitting you have a problem. Well, that comes from 12-step. Because the first step in getting an addict to get control over his addiction is getting him to admit that he has a problem in the first place. And it's very hard, it can be very hard to get an addict to admit to that. That's why he has to hit what is called rock bottom, where things cannot possibly get any worse, any more out of control than they are. And then it dawns on him, maybe I've got a problem. So I don't use the word denial in any context but that anymore. Now, when I used to teach midweek classes, in every class, there was always somebody who refused to do the denial step when they were praying because they thought it was being negative, and they didn't want to be negative while they were praying. And I'd say, so you fear your negatives? You think they have power over you? And they say, I don't give them any power at all. And I say, well, if they don't have any power, why can't you mention them in your prayers? She said, I don't admit any such thought into my prayers. And I said, so you do think they have power? You are afraid of them. And these conversations could go on for a long time because quite often the person who was refusing to do the refusal step was really just drawing attention to themselves. You have a bad day, you need some strokes. I get it. Oh, and on that subject, this is tangential, but it's a good place to say it. If you know of someone, some alleged spiritual light, who wears funny clothes to draw people's attention to the fact of how spiritual they are, or who adopts a name from a culture, not their own, to draw everybody's attention to how spiritual they are, like, oh, I don't know, let me think, a Hindu name maybe? Yeah, that's real popular with the white men who wear dashikis crowd. Also Native American names, which, by the way, is extremely offensive if you're not Native American. Don't pay any attention to that person. I mean, they may be a dear person and you like them, they're well-intended. Yeah, that's fine, but they've got a lot of work to do on themselves if they feel a need to make sure that everybody understands how spiritual they are. Because if there's one characteristic I have observed in every highly evolved spiritual person I have ever met, is that none of them care who knows it. I certainly don't. Anyway, this is the step where you bat down your negatives. Now, it's part of the perversity of being a human being that when we mentally affirm a greater good for ourselves, part of our mind immediately starts trying to talk us out of it. You might fail. You might go broke. You might be publicly embarrassed. Yeah, here's a worse one. You might die wondering what might have been. In my book, God, a User's Manual, I call these two faculties Junior and Miss Clunk. Junior is a wide-eyed kid. Junior wants to try new things, go new places. He's endlessly curious and he can't wait to see what's over the next horizon. Miss Clunk is the voice of prudence and orthodox thinking. And she will do anything, including scare Junior half to death, to stop him from doing the new thing he wants to go do. Now, this is not a good faculty and a bad faculty. These are both good faculties. Miss Clunk is usually right. Miss Clunk is the part of you that warns you not to stick your head out of a moving train to enjoy the breeze. She's the part of you that convinces you not to move cross-country to move in with the bartender you had a one-night stand with. Miss Clunk is right most of the time. She is on your side most of the time. But when you affirm a new and greater possibility for yourself, your internal early warning system goes crazy. And your mind immediately starts trying to talk you out of doing this new thing or tell you why it's impossible for you to do this new thing and it's silly for you to think you could ever have this new thing. It's a natural reaction to a positive declaration. It's gonna happen. And when it happens, you need to take each one of those negatives one at a time and bat them down. Quite often, the negatives that arise are from your previous religious indoctrination. And they'll try and pull you back into your old orthodox way of thinking. You need to push them away. You need to knock them down. But this negativity is inevitable when you pray for a greater goodness. And it's very important that you knock all these negatives down before you go over to the next step, which I call redeclaration. You're probably thinking there's no such word as redeclaration. Haha, but there is, because I just made it up. In the redeclaration step, you go back and affirm again what you said in the declaration step, only now you can do it without all those little doubts tugging at your dress. And if you go into the redeclaration step and find that you're still full of doubts, go back to the refusal step and combat every single one of those doubts in your mind so that you can enter the redeclaration step clear and confident. And understand something, you only have to reach that point of perfect certainty for a moment, for a split second. If you can get yourself there, the infinite will joyfully act upon what you've given it to do with infinite power and infinite resources. That's a pretty good deal. You only have to manage to be absolutely positive and certain for a moment to get the infinite to give you what you want. And if that sounds easy, you've never tried doing it. We'll see how easy it is. Now, the next step isn't the most fun step, but it is the coolest step. It feels so good. Go there.